everyone, I am Dr. Nidhi Khare, and in today's lecture I am going to tell you about how groups transform into self-directed teams. Now in the previous lecture we have already seen that the understanding of Tuckman's model makes managers' job easy in forming and cultivating the groups with success. It takes several months of sustained efforts to transform groups of employees into matured, self-directed teams. The absolute commitment of management is a prerequisite element in this effort. Further, there will be stiff resistance from employees since the transformation to team working demands change in their working pattern and solicits new skills that include technical skills, administrative skills, and interpersonal skills. The transition to team working is an ongoing process, and employees may have to undergo various phases of development before they become real team members. The self-managing team specialists Jack Osborne, Linda Moran, Ed Musselwhite, and John Zenger, through years of their experience with teams, mapped a 5-stage model for transition of groups into perfect self-directed teams. These 5 stages I am going to discuss today. Stage 1 startup, stage 2 state of confusion, stage 3 leader-centered teams, stage 4 tightly formed teams, and stage 5 self-directed teams. Coming to stage 1, that is startup, the dominant feature of startup is intensive training for all involved, all the team members as well as the supervisors. Stage 2 is state of confusion. Now after the initial enthusiasm, a period of confusion is predictable. It's normal and perhaps necessary. Stage 3, leader-centered teams. Positive signs will appear if managers continue to demonstrate their faith in the ability of teams to manage themselves. Stage 4, tightly formed teams. Now at this stage, teams manage their own scheduling, clearly express their needs, and meet challenging goals with limited resources. The significant phenomenon of teams in this stage is that they become extremely defensive if the organization fails to meet their needs for information or resources. Now at this point, managers must refocus their teams on cross-team and organization-wide goals, often through councils of elected team members who review issues of mutual concern. Self-directed teams. After the 5 storm of narrow loyalties comes the period of true self-direction. Mature teams develop a powerful commitment to achieving corporate and team goals. Managers must continuously seek new ways to foster commitment, trust, and responsible involvement of team members. So, this is the model which tells us about how groups transform into self-directed teams. Now if you are a manager, it is your job to ensure that your employees do better in their jobs, right? That's easier to say but not as easy to do. Let's take an example of an employee Chandar. And you watched Chandar give a presentation to some customers, and you watched that Chandar did a terrible job. You know that you have to help Chandar, your employee, to get better at presentation jobs. But what exactly are you supposed to do about that? Have you thought about it? Please think. Robert Dilt defines 5 levels of learning that specify 2 things. First, they specify the issue faced by a learner, and second, they specify the role that you can take to help the learner overcome that issue. First issue is the issue of environment. Environment is what's going on around the person. So let's take, for example, the employee Chandar has the job that never lets him give presentations in front of the customers. That's not an environment that supports learning. Here, your role is to guide. You have to guide that person to an environment where he can develop his skills. You can help him get some on the job training for making effective presentations. Now, second issue is the issue of behavior. Behavior is what the person actually does. Maybe this person spent the whole time in front of the screen or made too many hand gestures. These are behaviors which need to be adjusted. In this case, your role is the role of a coach. You want to coach that person to behave in a particular way. The third issue is the level of capability. Capability is what the person actually knows. Let's say, for example, employee Chandar, whom you watched giving a presentation to some customers, made certain mistakes talking about your company's product line. That's because he does not know those facts. Now, in that case, your job is to play the role of a teacher. You need to teach him the facts he needs to know so that he gets better at his job, right? Now, the fourth level is the level of belief. Belief is what the person thinks about the situation. So let's again take the example of employee Chandar, whom you want to improve his presentation skills. And he says to you, you know what? I believe presentation skills are hard. Most people are good at them, but I'm not. In this case, your job is to play the role of a mentor. You want to say to the person, you know what? People do get better at presentation skills, and I'm going to help you with that. Finally, at the deepest level is the level of identity. Identity answers deep questions about who I am. So let's again take the example of Chandar regarding improving his presentation skills. And he says to you, you know what? I am a bad presenter. My father was a bad presenter, and most people in my family are bad presenters. Now, this is not going to get him anywhere at all. This may be hard to change, but if you do change it, then you will do so by playing the role of a sponsor. You need to tell him, see, I want to see you different as someone who is good at presentations, and to keep seeking you that way unless you start seeing you that way. As we go down the model from the role of guide to the role of a sponsor, the changes become deeper and more meaningful, and of course, more permanent. But the important point is to realize that you don't want to have a mismatch. If you teach someone facts to do their job better, but there is an environment where they can't ever use those facts, then you'll end up feeling frustrated and you're not going to get anywhere. Or if you try to coach the person to behave differently, but he has a belief it's never going to work, again, you both are going to be frustrated. So the next time you have an employee who needs to be developed, before you jump into action, take a few minutes and figure out what's going on. Figure out the issue and match the issue to the role you play, and this will more likely help you develop your employee. Thank you.